Hello, this is Karen Christine Patrick, and today I'm interviewing with Brett Colin Shepard, who is the English editor-publisher of a book about two experiencers from the Czech Republic. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Brett was very intrigued by this story, and often he and I both get involved in helping people get their books put together and out, and this was the case for Brett. So Brett Colin Shepard, welcome to Aquarian Radio yet again. And why don't you tell us a little bit of the background of how you got involved in this project?
Well, I got a letter on Facebook from a lady. Her name was Ilona Paratska, and she was telling me the story of her and her sister. And how they used a Ouija type board to contact an extraterrestrial, and this extraterrestrial is named E.B. Oli, and he is from the planet Elijah, and we'll get into the details of that.
Well, that's great. Yeah, they actually started this. It seems like they have these messages from Oli, who are shared with many investigators through Facebook, and the English translation is I don't want to say a little rough, because it's not the point. The English translation is to share the information, and to a certain extent it's one of those cases where the energy of the information is expected to come through, even though the translation from the Czech language to English is not, the Queen's English.
Right. The text is actually very perceptual, and it's coded. And this was what was described by Ilona and Ivana. And these girls, who call themselves the Czech girls, formally
in English.
They have the experience of being visited by extraterrestrials even before this happened to them, and they tell the story of how they saw a ship and everyone saw it, and ever since then they feel that they were abducted that day. A lot of strange things happened in their beauty shop. These two girls are both beauticians, so they don't have a heavy knowledge of science or any of some of the aspects or concepts that E.B. Oli tells them through this mediumship. And the way this comes out is through automatic writing.
Well, it's actually a spirit board.
It is a spirit board. Ivana is the one that's actually the medium, and she is the interpreter. I would say the interpreter of what is actually being said in real time by this alien that they've contacted. And Ilona's job is to write everything down verbatim. So that's exactly what they do as a team. Ivana will use a shot glass on the spirit board, and she'll move it around, and she starts getting these messages.
Yeah, it stops at a different letter.
Yes, it's she's got letters and numbers in a circle with a shot glass, and it's pretty much that simple as far as the spirit board to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
As she's moving this shot glass, or whatever's moving it for her,
it stops at one of the
letters. It'll stop, or she'll feel a sense of stopping at some letter or number or whatever, and this happens very quickly.
I've seen it. Yeah.
She is booking, around this board, and she's verbally saying what the extraterrestrial or entity is saying, and Ilona writes it down.
Got it. Okay.
So what I found fascinating about this story is the area that they come from. This area, in a broad American sense, is around the area of the Danube River, which is quite a few miles away from their house, of course, but still, they are part of those old cultures. I think it was called Rosenblum or something culture in Germany, that was said to be a little bit later than the Vinca cultures or whatever in Bulgaria. But anyway, I believe that these are all the same cultures, and all along the Danube River. And it's interesting that the extraterrestrial says that he prefers to communicate in the old, ancient languages of that area.
Yeah.
So that's what's incredibly interesting is a lot of these communications are coming across as symbols or sigils in the mind of Ivana, and she translates that into a feeling or words. So this stuff happens really fast, and the thing is that, like I said, these girls are experiencers. They are hairdressers. They're not. They don't have a formal education whatsoever as far as a science background or anything like that. And some of the concepts that E.B. Oli tells them through this mediumship are very complex subjects. Subjects about space, about Area 51, about nuclear fission.
Yeah.
I mean, really, all kinds of things that really could be objectified or looked at by a scientist, and the concepts are correct, but they would probably say that there's really not enough to go on there because of the complexity. Now, the funny thing about science and all of that is that they are theories. It's theoretical stuff, but this alien is just coming out and saying it like he's known it all of his life, and this is the way it is. It's a fact. So this is what's interesting. And these girls remind me of the Vril girls from Nazi Germany. Now, not to say that the Vril girls were Nazis, because they weren't. They belonged to the Thule Society, and it became the Vril Society during the height of the Third Reich, or the Holy Roman Reich, or whatever. This particular subject is very deep seated in this area. In recent, more modern times, I would say in the 80s or early 90s, they were actually, the U.S. Army was actually over there in Germany, and they were communicating across to the Russians and whatnot through the radio signals and everything else. Well, they were also experimenting with Ouija boards, and they were contacting extraterrestrials as well.
That's amazing.
So there is something really strange going on in this area.
You were there.
I was over there, and it is that strange.
You were there in the military, and
Yes.
and you were up on the Berlin Wall before
I
it
was
came down.
yes,
Yeah.
I was very close to them while I was over in Germany, but didn't know it. While the wall was still up, it was right on the border of Czechoslovakia. That was the former name of it. It's now the Czech Republic. This is when Russia kind of had a thumb on that part of the world. What's incredibly interesting about this particular area in ancient times is there were many tribes all over the place. And these tribes, as far as I can tell from what this E.B. is saying to these girls, both the Vril girls and the Czech girls, is that they have deep ancestry in that area. Maria Orsic, which was one of the original Vril girls, who pretty much formed the Vril Society, her mother was from Croatia, I believe, and her father from Austria. So this area is very important as far as ET communication, contact with the spirit world, or however you look at it. This area is full of energy that is incredibly ancient, and you might say that there is an aspect of our origins or beginnings in this area.
I want to make a couple of interesting notes. One is that there's, I don't want to say rumors, but there's information out there stating that, okay, so the Vril girls were also doing automatic writing, and then especially Maria Orsic was writing down something in what they call, well, first they said that Sumerian. They said it was Sumerian language, and that basically that the Sumerian was then translated, and it was giving instructions to the Germans to build craft. But just a second on the craft that they got out of that story is that we're of the opinion, based on our own study of the real society information and the information of this area, that in fact there was one assertion that the language was High German, okay? And then based on the clues of what we know was going on around there, it was actually Dacian. And the language
Illyrian.
script, yeah, the description was the script was something called Pelagian letter form, and we're doing more and more research about the Pelagian letter form and culture. But that would make complete and total sense to me, because if Eby wants to speak the old languages, chances are Illyrian would be it, because the translation of the actual word Illyrian is the people from the stars. So there's some kind of connection there. Go ahead.
Right. Oh, I was just going to say that a lot came out. Also with the real girls, they were not well educated in science. They were philosophers.
Occultists.
Yeah, they were, esoteric occultists. They sought the hidden knowledge of the world. That's what the Tully Society was about, and some of these members were from some of the more temporal societies in Turkey, and I believe it was called the Tola. Okay, well, anyway, I really can't remember the name of that old society in Turkey. It might come to me. The thing is about the real girls, I take it very seriously when someone says that they hear spirits or they hear something from the spirit world, especially when it coincides so deeply with our ancestry and history, especially the people of European history, and that in that sense. These girls wrote a book called The Czech Girls ET Contact with Humanoid Eby Oli, and that is by Ilona Podoratska and Ivana Podoratska, and the foreword's written by Brett Shepard. That's me. I felt really compelled to write a foreword for their book, because I knew that there was more to it than just automatic writing or just hearing, doing some divination from the spirit world or something like that. Wonderful stuff.
Oh yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into one of the statements you have about the language, because we're going to go ahead and read the first entry and talk a little bit more about it. And the thing that's going on is that basically they're putting out these messages, and a subset of the messages is put in, excuse me, I'm trouble speaking. We're trying to get to the page. Go down a little bit, Brett. We're actually looking at the book online. So right there, stop, right there. I'd like to have you go ahead and read this, because it helps with the idea of how they're expecting the messages to come through. And I want to talk about that for a second, because I'm aware of coded messages, and I'm aware of sigil-based language. Coded messages is kind of like keywords. So you'll have a term and you're like, what's that about? And if you kind of sit with it, you can begin to deduce what is meant. And that's through the operation of sigils. The language that they originally, the Eby Oli was talking about, is a sigil-based language. And why that's important is that we're very used to communicating with words. But words fail us if one person has one idea and another person has another idea. The beings that are talking through them are telepathic. The telepathic beings expect the words to just be a gateway, like a search word for Google, a gateway to information. And more, I think that we're going to be learning about the gateway aspect of words, the gateway aspect of terms. For us, a word is a be-all, end-all. It's supposed to define something. So we have a dictionary to tell us what that means, and we try to come to a common understanding. However, if you're a telepathic race, that's not going to cut it, because you're going to be talking in parallel lines of communication, images, emotions, the meaning of the words, and the pictogram aspect of it. You know, what meaning is it if it's in this arrangement of words versus another arrangement of words or pictograms? So when we have this kind of rough translation, Ivana and Alona, the girls, are expecting that the energy of EB comes through, and when you're reading it, so that the more exact meaning is going to come through just engaging the English words you're reading.
Well, yeah, they told me not to change it a bit, because otherwise that would be my perception of what that sentence means, or those words.
Right.
And they specifically told me not to change anything.
Yeah. So that's an interesting aspect in people. One of the things I'm going to be talking about in a conference is that very thing, is the idea of how can humans think like an alien. Well, an alien is telepathic. People have had experiences with them just being crushed with a download of information that they couldn't figure out till later, because humans are used to like computers, a serial port, words, and extraterrestrial telepathics are used to parallel processing, and when they engage us, they're engaging what they already know is there. Human beings actually do are able to get information in parallel format. It's just we're not choosing to right now because of our education system and the way we structure society.
Well,
so
yes, and as they appreciate our desire to see the little picture in our own personal perceptions, they think globally. They think in the terms of the big picture. They see us as one entity, for instance, as Earth.
Right.
So that what they're trying to relay to us or show us is the big picture, because they're flying around outside of our planet and they can see the big picture.
Right.
So that is the perspective that this is coming from, and the following is the original transcript from the automatic writing communication with EB. Ivana and Ilona. Ilona states that EB from the beginning wrote the infinitive and often used foreign words and various codes. For reasons of authenticity, the following text is translated into English in its original state by the sisters and have not been edited into a more conventional form of English dialect. The definition of automatic writing is something I threw in there. The writing is said to be produced by a spiritual, occult, or subconscious agency rather than by conscious intentions of the writer.
And I want to make sure people knew that was the introduction. We put that in the book, and we're going to give more information at the end on how to get the book in English. But that was a disclaimer, I guess you'd say, at the start of the book, to help explain the unconventional use of words, and in this case, being used as mental sigils. So, why don't we take some turns reading the first section? You'll take a page, I'll take a page.
Okay, great.
And this is the first entry of the 3rd of February, 1993, when they began the automatic writing process. It was the first entry in the book. Go ahead.
It's entitled, "I'm Not a Ghost," and that was the first thing the extraterrestrial said to them. He said, "I am not a ghost. I am an alien from the planet Elijah." In America, we say EB. Energetical, biological entities. Energical. Energical.
Okay,
and that is on purpose.
I know, it's a tough read for us. Right.
Energical, biological entities.
Yeah.
He said, "My name is Oli from the planet Elijah. We come in peace, and we want to protect your planet Earth from nuclear explosions to prevent the destruction of the universe. We are glad that you believe in our existence. Ivana is endowed with special powers. Ivana is the mediator between Earth and the planet Elijah. The transmissions are a kind of navigator through a computer transmitter to communicate with people at a distance. We are humanoid like you, and we are out of power. Our existence is a way to level the existence of other spatial coordinate. They feed with energy. We enjoy music, and we are in the heart of the chord melodies. We have 7 colors like yours. Eye color. We have caramel, arms and legs yellowish. We have 4 fingers white. We merged with hydrogen molecule. The molecule is a concept that is found in most universe and the organs. They feed on just energy. We do not know what is hungry. We do not know what is when it is wrong.
Now I'll take the next page of this as we scroll down. We are still neutral. We appreciate your kilograms, 0.20 pounds, and measure a 1 meter. 20 equals 1,20 meter. We have liquid that is white and consists of a hydrogen molecule. Body temperature and September temperature 45, great heat. Our body gets hot. We hear telepathic wording. It is into the computer technology. We move from the ground a few centimeters. Our body construct holds only matter, energy, mass. Plant has a structure like root that holds it. Holds us root mass. It is the root who cannot sow, but which originates from a cell. We mutations on the level of technology, hybrid creation at the level of biotechnology. It would take more biological mutation associated with us. It illustrate human existence. The pyramids are the base of our past. The pyramids are holes invisible to you that we secure. Fly to clean technology energical system. We are of the dimension 12 and 39 light years distance. Distance does not play a role. Move spatial temporal jumps. We have coded your gray out here on Earth. Everything is recorded in the procedure. You say UFO. It is called in another way. 4:06, I'll write it on a human level. Constructical, technical, nitrical. We fly with technology and with the design to nitro inside interior for flying. On the moon, there are runways for among the years ago. Robots are navigational extraterrestrial creatures. Robots are also transmitted together with constructical, technical, nitrical, constructical, with a C. Okay, technical, nitrical to Earth. Robots also examined the surface of the Earth, and we are talking it with us on the computer. In just a moment. I get that. Okay, go ahead.
The robots are designed to explore the planet's surface, and we examine people. It divides the biological and technical abstraction, tuta. We investigate people. We take blood samples for research. We need have the device in the closed state. We investigate an abdominal openings. We do not want to hurt anyone. Regenerator unit is to examine the animals. Your nuclear particle penetrated into our bag sphere. Also, with me, sometimes loses telepathic waves among all. Star of the runway on which our alien ship, our planet, cannot see it under you guys very much. But the track is equipped with a quick transfer of our space rockets to you here on Earth, on the planet Earth. We have our galaxies. Ivana has headquarters in the brain recorded point here for us to base. It's not that he appeared to more people and also fear everything needs time and logic. What the Ivano and Ilano feeling so-called vibrational energy. It is a destination for early contact. Contact does not occur abruptly, but consciously. Confederation, the law is satisfied to different situations. PES, our navigation. Maharata Chara, our squad UFO. Gada is one of the flying shuttle. Shadamaka, Earth.
Yeah, it seems like those last things were names of their ship and so forth. Is this a continuation?
Yes.
Okay. When is less genetic experience, the better. It will be development through electromagnetic wave measurements from a distance and up close. Electromagnetic waves has no effect on poisons and what they could do harm as genetics. It is time. Mira energy electric. Magnetic measurements, 10 or more units of frequency calculated in the magnetic scale. It has a range of 20 frequency units and the way to a total of 30 units of frequency, and it counts. It is the end of the experiment. Nuclear radiation fuels at you also leads to damage. Does this method of radiation, radioactivity, and the total terrestrial temperature. The temperature varies with you that you have broken Earth layer of the black hole. People are of that groggy. Plants die over the greenhouse effect earlier. Ultraviolet radiation is also bad. Telepathic radiation, it's a match hiding information from the subconscious. And in any case, the blockade of space-based communication. We have space laboratory. To base many units. Health front. Into this space laboratory, some research. Earthlings taken away to secure for health. Inducers. A thing which can also be used to establish a connect with the Earthlings. It is a combination of reflex. When earthly man is under our building, so that it means it is programmed to get into the object's angle increased. Get him in neutral, inside interior, simply using laser, which is strong. Exudes power, and magnetism of the man is drawn into the interior of the building. Color elevator is yellow, white, blue in our system include the planet Mursa, Mifaya, Gompola, Polizarca, and Radon. Okay, go ahead.
The planets orbit around the sun, but from a different galactic central planet. They have a fiery color, just radon is white. Ilona Ivano, be careful in that what you are doing. It is a large telepathic communication hub, overall perception. My humanoids, we either near constructical, technical, nitrical, we have some protective devices that attack against infection. We have the option base to start a drive, second energy streams on Earth. For such a distance, we are able to receive different audio transmissions from human biological computer. We have sounds, voice adapter, radio adapter. And that the voices are transferring into our machine, Kaboza. Everything is scheduled as program on the computer. Not to forget anything, man is the most interesting part sample. The samples are piped to instruments that measure their valuable rate. Pattern is used as a particle to explore. Sample, each person is different. Such information communications are part of the trial and not the information so that someone misused. This is information dignity. His is not a fairy tale, but the reality. Circles in the boxes are wonderful people to do more and more aware these marks were left behind are beings from other planets. Is that a flying object landing beautiful from the body can be established from flight connected people that are necessary paralyzing, or can be stationary objects such as, for example, auto, and this can affect the cosmic body, figures in the fields. Message.
Yeah. The figures show must be more celestial bodies to develop a more geometric parts, body to create all sorts beautiful, always balanced shape. After the flight speed creates energy, that is their gear. That there was to see the body of the flight, such as combustible material that will not burn, but it is hot, the flight speed. When people see each other, more bodies behind, so that's it. These multiple bodies that even the sky is a sort of set of patterns. Often, the planet Zeta and the planet Notoria. It is enough proof that visual in all kinds of places in any part of the planet Earth. Your planet Earth was habitable in ancient times, different civilizations which left here on Earth. Also, enough evidence of tangible and spiritual. For example, monuments and pyramids, Moai statues are also built ancient other advanced civilization. Termination of planet runs in constant change. Transformation atom with protoneutron particle is chosen. That when the joints in the stratosphere atom with neutron. Therefore, it is without a doubt planet possible. Nuclear energy is the cosmos and the existence of cells in cosmos space. The universe was able to bind cells to the good life. Neutron particle, combustible product are in the universe, are to space particles. But I on Earth is neutrons and protons, but not the whole protoneutrino monster. Metals are the worst total unit, whole for the maintenance of clean energy. Concurator is with you as a probe. It's just a thermometer and pressure. We are able to records concuratoro. So yeah, it gets technical, doesn't it?
It does.
Let's see, wait a minute. Make sure. Let's see, wait a minute. We are able to record records concuratoro, temperature and pressure on the country, just off our ship, long distances. Okay.
So a probe to your fly just around the Earth's axis and follows its own larger space Z, and the middle waves monitors temperature. And we can do this in closure and watches from a distance. The whole universe is as the single largest computer program in human's life. Paragonada, a development program in human life. It's Parganada, a development program in human life. Musala case is to move ideas into the past tense. Buddhist case is to move thoughts on the other side of the ordinary. Chlora Magi.
It's Choreomagi.
Choreomagi is a system of ideas and human knowledge. Relactor is an agreement of ideas and relate to parts of the spherical arranged, that is, even in your thoughts are set as signal to the universe. Between the brain and spherical mass, atmosphere, up to a certain wavelength mass of air and atmosphere are particle intense degree reach. A bland whole atmosphere unit, which normally one cannot pick up material, but as practical.
A lot of fun here. Go ahead.
Just from measurements from the probe, I love the Earth and you, but I don't love war. Destroying your planet Earth and soul war is a poison that has entered into between galactic expensive. Man is a man without emotion, often make examining the blood or viscera, but that do not harm anybody. We evaluate the whole process of the body. We accompany it certain definite mental psycho magnet that pulsate invisible process. It's for you as sent satellites that will also appear pressure in the atmosphere. So he magnet no one in order to not introduce you to radioactivity. No, why? We intend to hold terror and degenerate living cells, the planet, and humanity.
Biological institutions include pollutants in cells, live, viable. This biological generation in your country will not live for many years. Cells are impaired. EB is like, I'm proud of my existence. Laser controls the rotation of the Cambrian in hydrosphere. At-ray laser runs the hydrosphere. Cambrian to the chemical compounds. I have become critical dimensions for a given potential. On your planet for given potential. On your planet, radioactive pollution. In your vegetables absorb carbon dioxide and nitrates. It's not so good for the human body. It's still more healthier than milk products and especially meat. Proteins can be replaced otherwise than meat. Cereals, Earth, disaster is a big mess. I have no ruler control for order for the planet. Brain is the most important mutamental biological particles creation. Instead, it is interesting to study Earth's knowledge. So it is New Zealand, Mexico, and Cuba. Of course, the patella, yes. There are examine what is identical with the soil and plant. We compare bioproduction creativity. Make in Costa Rica underground pyramid. So you will be stuck between the planetary system on the contradiction between earthly and other science. It will be a proper parliament, telepathic and direct sharing, I think the community. One will be you will solve your science with your science. It's up to you. Your fate. Publicity, moral conduct will have to take place at planetary base. I have their other civilization. Is their focus, telemetry, and graphical round system. Part 5. Protons, neutrons constitutes the stability of atom in space. Go ahead.
There are the positive and negative particle sources which hold a large number of atoms in the universe. Structure of the biological organisms and essentially more complex than the composition of the matter in the universe. The comparison of the human organism is with us again on a different principle appropriate to life. Our liquid, if put in comparison with your organs, is so much more than human organism. Replaces the body more. Bioenergy fictrace depends on the core biological part of the universe. It is the cycle remaining space, sporadically element in the universe, pulsates between them, such as a magnet convention. It is the connected to a signal from the base substance containing in this particles, energy based on the way components remove inappropriate poisons, gases from the ionosphere particles in Arizona and from the nuclear particles energy that structure burning the biological particles would result in a bang at that particles, and it would break part of the atmosphere and biosphere. Biological particles from bang in the universe result violation of biological atmosphere. It is based on biological particles in the atmosphere. Magnetic convention serves as a substance contained between biological and energetic particles among which pulsates. When paralyzation, sometimes hear strange humming. Process metric wool proceeds in each of earthlings. Its wool flow of biolocalate in living organism to purging, cleansing cells. When the organism dies, its dead metric waves so does not take place, but in the last moments of ongoing leakage of cells.
Let's see. Lead cells into one mass. Mala luja intra sutis lapaka luna, the moon, right? Orbita. This is a situation at an advanced stage of development, biological components in the interstellar space. This is our speech. We're talking strong, but you incomprehensible language. Terenti lutas, mitora, interference, basis for use in terrestrial beings. I loan it when you hear the beep when paralyzation, like tuning a radio, so it is a signaling attachment point on your perception of our approximation. Paralyzed by the contact of two energies in a single energy that flows, armor to immobility to radiation energy. I will have the protection that is my law. Take care of yourself. Yeah, I like that. Time for you on Earth passes quickly, and that we are approaching our meetings. You can see that we cannot give up. Stop communicating with us. Stop being with us and feel our presence. Vibration, Earth's axis are strong. We see it on the computer. Your planet has a change of climate. Solar radiation is harmful to every poor individual who does not have the right blood circulation. Radioactivity air is rising, capturing point of radioactivity, smoky the computer. Well, we'll try that again. Radioactivity air is rising, capturing point of radioactive smoky the computer. It is bound by a kind of shutter cover. Style in the cosmic understanding of Earthlings is unformed to higher susceptibility and higher knowledge about it. The foundation of positive energy transmission from human to human is essential. The idea is the source of telepathy. Signs in fields will explore, more discover, as they are designed code in the principle of time. And code has your time. Everything has its plan to be the rotation of the universe and mysterious. You can start on that one.
The forces all around you, which acts as a magnetic pulse. Our commander is called Talas Azulur. We have a lot of work for their plans, offered plans based on biological samples for understanding biological sciences on your planet Earth. Thank you for your attention.
Well,
woo!
Wow, what were you... I just want to say, what was the top things that jumped out of you in that reading? And that's the first reading out of the book, by the way.
Right, yeah, one of the things that really gets me is the detail... and the broken detail of some of these sciences that he's talking about, the description of them and their planet and their perception or perspective of the planet Earth, and the way they think, the way they're thinking. This, of course, if we get past the craziness of this right here, okay?
Yeah.
We can keep in mind that these are hairdressers.
I know.
All right. That would have been very uncomfortable for me to write, but I would have known how important it is.
Right.
So in other words, these girls do not know what the hell it's talking about.
That's what I'm noticing. It's 1993, and the things jumping out at me is radiation poisoning, Earth changes, atmospheric changes on Earth. They're telling us what's going on Earth from the outside looking in. GMOs. They were talking about changes in our plants. They were talking about how some people believe that the Earth's radiation is increasing, or like a slow electromagnetic pulse, which is part of the impetus of the Earth changes. They're telling us that they're examining us in a non-obtrusive, non-harmful way. So we're not talking about human or cattle mutilations from them, at least. They're doing some kind of a process which allows them to examine, to paralyze maybe the animal and the human, to paralyze them in some way. And then during that process, is talking about hearing a tone, which is kind of like, now the connection gets made deeper to be able to analyze like a scan, some kind of scan, to examine the tissues of plant life, animal life, and human beings. So, in order to see, hey, what is going on with planet Earth? And then the thing that jumped out, just boom, I was like astonished, was that it was the radioactivity we're playing with is so dangerous. It's not just dangerous to Earth. It's dangerous to the universe. And I have had some deep operatives tell me that as they've been probing deeper and deeper into looking at, the universe with the Hubble telescope and other instruments, radio astronomy, they've seen galaxies that are frozen and completely inert. They're not growing anymore, they're not moving, they're not rotating, as far as what I understand is going on. And that is a fear that something happens on Earth that causes a frozen universe, and having to do with our experimentation of nuclear energy in particular. And other stories of how people have said that when we explode a nuclear bomb, it doesn't just affect, let's say, the testing grounds at Nevada or Bikini Islands. It literally bleeds into other dimensions and causes problems that we don't even know about. And probably the number one thing, even extra biological entities or ET contact, if someone's given a message, that's on the top 10 list of things that they're warning us about, is our tinkering with nuclear energy, a nuclear weaponry. And here we are sitting in 2017 with the Fukushima disaster, the Chernobyl disaster as well, now possibly it permanently impacting the Pacific Ocean, as far as anything that I know about. And we're not being told about it, but there's been massive die-offs in the Pacific Ocean. There's marine biologists who reported there's whole parts of the Pacific that don't have any life in it. Every part of that ocean used to have at least microbial life or algae or something, and there's literally dead zones now, either at the bottom, aggregating to the bottom of the ocean, or even all the way up to the top of the ocean in different parts of the Pacific. And it's very scary. And if you were reading that in 1993, where was everybody's heads at in 1993? They certainly were not about any of this, talking about any of this. So this is amazing that already this information, this detail.
Yeah, this was
coming.
before 9/11. This was before anyone was starting to do extensive research into
before
science
the
or metaphysics
the
or anything
internet came
else.
on 1996, right. So we don't even have. You'd have to go to the library and the catalog and request books from interlibrary alone to read about any of it, right?
Exactly. One of the other strange things about it is their definition, the EB's definition of space-time, and trying to explain that in plain English. The definition of space-time in regards to how they travel is they said that they jump through portals, and this happens when our planet is close to a jump point, and then the blink, then they can pop right in to our planet. They also said that they were using pyramids as portals and such. These are very advanced topics for 1993. And they're advanced topics anyway, but I found it incredibly fascinating that they were talking about ancient times and the languages that they prefer to speak in. I found that very interesting, and it sent me personally on some different directions with the origin of languages and the possibility that we were initially one entity, that we were initially one Earth, and that we all spoke the same language or used the same symbols, which is something that I find incredible. So to me, that is more than a possibility now that I'm hearing this from people that are halfway across the world. These girls that are halfway across the world, and they're in contact with these extraterrestrial beings, apparently from another planet.
Yeah, and there's details of the name of their ship and the name of their commander, and they do make a reference. They sort of sound like Greys to me. They make a reference to Zeta Reticuli, where we think most of the Greys came from.
They differentiate, actually.
But they differentiate, and people who've had, kind of the aggregate multiple contact do say that the number of races out there is infinitely more. And it's a mistake for us to go, what do they want? As if the ETs were one race. It's not true. It's many entities and many agendas, so to speak, but a lot of the benevolent ones are very concerned about us.
These entities speak in the universal sense.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I found fascinating. It's not just a bombardment of interest in just Earth. It's how Earth is affecting the universe.
There was at least
That was
one.
their concern.
Yeah, it was one reference to universal law
Right.
in there that I thought was interesting. So one of the terms I've heard is galactic governance. Is that there's a governance or there's oversight or something at every level of experience. So in a sense, if you think of Earth as one thing, there's been an attempt to make a one world government. I think there is an Earth one world government. It's just that the design of the management of intentions politically for a one world government is far more controlling and harmful than what they're saying. They wouldn't even dissect us, to find out what we're about, but we wouldn't have any problem dissecting them.
Right. Yeah. There's also another important thing to consider. This is completely blasphemous and taboo for the area that they live in. It's mostly Roman Catholic or Orthodox, and very religious area.
Mm-hmm.
This is a small European town that has not changed much since ancient times, medieval times. So these are very religious people, in this area. So for these girls to come out with this is like putting a giant target on them. This is not entertaining for them. So this is something that they feel that the world needs to know, and they are incredibly brave for coming out with that, especially considering the area that they're from.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to consider as they're using a spirit board for communication, but the title is "I'm Not a Ghost." So, and you were talking about people who are using in our government,
yes,
using a Ouija board to communicate with extraterrestrials. So I think that's something that has happened in probably more recent times. Is like the 1800s or early 1900s, when Spiritism rose in popularity. People were primarily interested in talking to ghosts and their dead relatives and whatnot. And I think the emphasis changed because I think the ETs butted in.
Yeah, that is just that's more haunting than even talking to a ghost.
Exactly.
Something that comes on and says, "I'm not a ghost."
What the heck is it?
What the heck?
Is it a demon? Yeah. I think one thing can be said about Catholicism in a sense of its favor is that they eventually, the powers that be of the Catholic Church did acknowledge that some communications of this nature are in fact ET communications, and have accepted that ETs are children of God in a sense, or of the Creator, just the same as we are. So they have a statements that
right.
they've made.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've actually apologized for the Inquisition and the,
yeah.
and the creation of demons and witches and everything.
Right.
They have actually apologized for some of those perceptions or whatnot.
And they've
it's very medieval,
They've also said that aliens are a real phenomenon, and that beings from other planet is a real phenomenon. Not everyone agrees with that within the Catholic Church. Not everyone agrees with that within other religions as well. Many times equating any interaction, telepathy or otherwise, with extraterrestrials as being demonic in nature. So it's yeah, you're right. They are putting themselves at risk. They're also putting themselves at risk in a sense of, as anyone who says, I'm a contactee, I'm an experiencer, and this is what I heard, at odds with controlling government forces, because they really don't want people. There was even a law in the United States that you weren't allowed to interact with extraterrestrials. It's an actual law.
Well, that was one of the old Eisenhower deals the extraterrestrials made with them, and they said specifically that we are going to contact anyone we want all over the world. And I believe it was even more specific, everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, they used. I believe that that the government did not get the technology that they wanted out of the deal, and they exchanged biological material to these interdimensional extraterrestrial types that were popping in space-time. So I don't believe that they got a good end of the deal. The military, what they were promised high technology, and of course they had only gotten to the point where they mastered reverse gravitics, which is a big deal. They had received technology that were more of a peaceful nature, like energy technologies, wind, energy, that sort of thing. So, some of these things did not pan out for the military, and probably did not make a very good deal, and probably with the wrong extraterrestrial race in the first place, because these entities differentiated between the Zetas, for which I was told that these entities are the ones that initially made the deal with Eisenhower, all the way, from the World War II era, the whole Nazi thing or whatever. I think that they gave more to the Nazis as far as technology goes.
Yeah. Through the real girls.
Yeah, through the real girls, and we had made advancements based on some of that Nazi technology after the war. But I believe that the Germans in World War II eventually got to the moon and probably Antarctica, advanced structures and whatever that's being found there right now. So they say.
Yeah.
Well,
in closing, if I could get information, I think we've whetted the appetite of people to look into this, and I want to give the contact information of where you can get the book, which is does this have the English one as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, if you click on that.
Yeah, we have a website to tell you about. There is an English version. Okay. The website to find, if you happen to speak better Czech than English, there's a Czech version. And if you happen to speak no Czech and only English, there's a version. And you can get it at CZECK Czech Girls, czechgirlsetcontact.blogspot.com. And how much is the book?
It's CZECH, Czech.
Czech. Okay.
Czech Girls.
Czech Girls Contact. Pardon my spelling. But yeah,
ET Contact.
Right, and it'll take you to a Create-Space, and you'll be able to purchase it on Create-Space.
Yeah.
And it's a print book. It's not an ebook.
CzechGirlsETContact.blogspot.com, or you can go to our page, shepherdandpatrick.com.
Yeah, SHEPPARDANDPATRICK, because one of the things we're in process of doing is that through the last 2 years, we've been in contact with wonderful authors that are very unusual information. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, we'll actually have an online bookstore of this unusual and rare experiencer-based information. I think a big change that should happen is that heretofore, because like we went to the UFO Congress and the people speaking up in front were researchers of the ufology. They were the researchers of the UFO contactee information of the government cover-ups and involvement. However, something Steve Bassett said a long time ago that really inspired me. He says that the experiencer movement or experiencers haven't found their collective voice yet. I think it's on. I think that the further we see, just literally with our own eyes, environmental degradation and the impoverishment of the globe by elite beings, who are behind our elite human governance, it's frightening to people. Conspiracy theories that were thought outlandish 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, because I knew about them. My dad was a conspiracy guy. Don't seem outlandish anymore. They seem quite real to us. So, is there anything that you want to say here at the end? Brett?
I'll just say that I know that the Earth will eventually get it together. There is a balance in our nature, and it's not all flowers and metaphysics and whatever.
Yes.
We have different mindsets. We have different perceptions, and we're creative enough to accept all of them. This is what should happen on Earth. Since there is balance, there's no way that we are going to become some frightening utopian peaceful society that is completely utterly controlled by extraterrestrials
and based on death. Yeah.
Right. So that this is something that's not going to happen. What is going to happen probably in current events is some light disclosure, soft disclosure, and I believe that they're going to do it through the alternative media, not the mainstream media, because to avoid embarrassing people or people that are still alive that are in some of these programs. So that's just something I wanted to say. I think the world is getting better, as far as
It
that
has
goes.
the option.
Yes.
I think there's an intervention, when you got to sit down with a family member and say, you've got an addiction problem. This is what they're saying is we have an addiction to scarcity mindedness and limited fuel and, planned obsolescence, and the outpouring of that is pollution, which is affecting all of us now. And they were talking about this in 1993, and it's still true, and in fact, even more visible, I think, than it was back then. So again, check out checkgirlsetcontact.blogspot.com for the Check Girls ET Contact with Humanoid E.B. Ali book by Ilona and Ivana Podoroska. Thank you, Brett Colin Shepard, for coming on today. And thank you for listeners to, right now Janet is on the way to a conference, and the other people there's a lot going on right now. So we decided to do this podcast to just bring out this wonderful project.
Oh, I wanted to also say that this
Sure.
book is spellbinding, fascinating, and a must-read for the automatic writing community. I find their story to be true, and it rings authentic from my personal perspective as an experiencer, and that I will put my name on.
Then fantastic. Okay, thank you, and everyone keep looking up, right?